Welcome to the Sample Chapter Podcast, the show where authors read a sample chapter from one of their books. Here's your host, Jason A. Meiske.
Hello, Sample Chapter listeners, and welcome to episode 268 of the show. Hey, we got a great show for you this week. We are welcoming back a previous author, friend of the show, Steve L. Clark. He was with us for episode 188, and then again about a year or so later, episode 218. Today, he's going to be joining us to discuss, well, actually, we're discussing a lot of things. We're talking about how he began his own press, Orange Octave Press, and getting his own ISBNs, a little bit of that process. We're talking about Easter eggs in our books that go across different books. Consistency is key, and we go over some of his other books that came out in between visits. All that, plus we're going to hear about what is the Meiske verse, and could I get Tom Selleck as a guest on the show? You don't want to miss out on all that. It's a lot of fun. Steve's great to talk to, and somebody that you don't want to miss out on. Plus, we're going to be talking. Oh my gosh, yeah. The whole reason he's here is to also discuss his upcoming book, Sinner, which is available for pre-order right now. But the book drops October 31st. It looks incredible. And yeah, you can find out more about that in the show notes. Meanwhile, I am hard at work. Let's see, this episode's going to drop October 1st. I don't think I'm going to have Bandit 3 done now. I've definitely passed the midway point. I'm in that 3/4 area right now, and I just kind of keep juggling some of the scenes, going back and forth with that. But I'm right there. I think if I get a little bit of time, right now I'm working like crazy, and you're going to hear a little secret about that here in this episode. But I'm working a whole lot. So I think here in the next week or so, if I get a little bit of time to just focus for a day or two, I'll be able to really put in some real writing time, and I'll be able to knock out the draft of Bandit 3, and then I'll probably let it sit for a week and then come back into it and start getting it ready, because I have an event coming up in November in Hallsville, Missouri. I did it a couple of years ago when Bandit 1 came out, and it was a huge, huge hit. That and my first book, 9 Mile Bridge, were both very successful at that event. So I'm looking forward to coming back. I've also got my anthology story is done. It's been proofed. It's been submitted and accepted. So that's good to go. They sent me a proof of the book itself, and I'm reading through stories of the other authors in there right now, and a lot of really exciting, really cool, and neat stories in that. And you're going to hear this first, but I'm really, really proud to say that my daughter is she has her first short story is also going to be in this anthology. So I'm really proud of her, and who knows, maybe I'll have her on an upcoming episode to read a sample from her story. But without further ado, how about we go ahead and hop on over to our interview with the man of the hour, Steve L. Clark. Hello, Sample Chapter listeners. Welcome back. Hey, one of the great things about this show is I meet really wonderful authors, and it's my show. I get to have them back once in a while, and today's no exception to that. We're welcoming back Steve Clark. He has now been on the show. This will be his third time. He was previously with us the first time back on 188, episode 188, to discuss his anthology that it was like early on in his career. Then he came back about a year later for episode 217, talking about the Doors of Chamberlain. And since then, he's just been blowing up with more books, has even begun his own press since then. And I cannot wait to catch up with him and introduce you all to his next work in progress. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome back to the show, Steve L. Clark. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Jason. Thank you for having me back. Third timer.
Yeah. I've told Armand before after about the fifth time. He says I'm supposed to get jackets now, and I'm still working on that.
All right, I'll take a plaque or something.
There you go. That'd be cool. So, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I've been staying busy. It's been had some things happen since last time I was on. So good, a lot's happened, and then but also I had some dry spells where not much happened. So but we're catching up now at a good time. I got a lot going on.
That's great, man. Yeah, we were last talking about that the Doors of Chamberlain. That's been a few years ago now, and since then you got a couple more books and began your own press, like I was talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
holy cow, man, that's amazing. How did that come about? How did what went through your mind? You're like, I'm gonna do my own press.
So I mean, for at least for now, I'm considering it. It's just my own imprint. So currently, I'm not looking to publish other people, but I started out doing what most people do, most indie authors, and I was just publishing just on Amazon and using their free ISBN numbers and all that. And then I was 4 books into it and just kind of experimenting. And I had I know a lot of people will do their own imprint and buy their own ISBN number, so you can start doing the use the same number for wide distribution. And I was intrigued by that. So I decided just to take the plunge. So Orange Octave Press is the name of my imprint, and I bought a bundle of ISBN numbers and republished all 4 of my previous books, and they're all wide distribution now. Updated covers with the print logo, and changed. Actually, 2 of the 4 books ended up with brand new covers that I'm really happy with, and I did it. I wanted to get into the wide distribution, and I wanted to have that ownership of owning the ISBNs, and I can put these books up anywhere. And I felt like I was ready to take the next step into more official, and so far I'm really happy with the results. It's very cool to see my books listed on barnesandnoble.com, which was not something that I was doing before.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's a really cool thing. I guess I'd have to admit it's crossed my mind before, but then with my schedule, it's just like, yeah, let's add one more thing to my list. I think I'll just wait a little while. So I've got a window of opportunity coming up, maybe in the next year or so, that maybe I'll start seriously looking into it again. But for now,
Right.
I'm happy just sticking with the Amazon. But for those listeners who are indie and just going the Amazon route, talk us through that process a little bit of the imprint and getting the ISBNs on your own.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rabbit hole. You can get really sucked in, and I was not I'm not ashamed to say that I was overwhelmed in the beginning when I first took the dive. But basically, I mean, Amazon will give you a free ISBN number, and so will other platforms, but they don't. You can't use an Amazon ISBN number on Ingram Spark for that distribution. So you can still do it. You can still go wide without buying your own, but you're going to have multiple editions of the same book, and
Mm-hmm.
there can be, from what I read, there can be conflicts with that in the ISBN database, and it just seemed I wanted it cleaner than that. So
Yeah.
you can buy the ISBN numbers are not cheap, but if you buy a bundle, like I bought a pack of 100, and so that will probably do me for the rest of my life. So it's basically a one-time purchase, and then you can use that same number, so I can upload the paperback to Amazon and Ingram Spark and use the same ISBN number. It's one book in the database, and it's just another way to get your stuff out there. Amazon is still probably always going to be the elephant in the room. That's the big one where most of your sales are going to come from. So you're going to be completely fine to do it that way. But I was really intrigued by the idea of wide distribution, and so I'm with the paperbacks. I've done Ingram and Amazon, of course, and then I've also done for ebooks. I'm on Kobo now, Barnes and Noble directly, Google Play Store. Apple is still the last one I got to get to, but so I mean I knew this wasn't going to be the thing, that this wasn't like the last piece of the puzzle that I was like, oh, I'm going to blow up when I do this. But because most of your sales are still coming from Amazon, but
Mm.
it's just more visibility and more ways for people to get your book. And I mean, it is a lot. I had to do a lot of homework, and I'm still learning. I'm early into this. It's been like just over the last 3 months or so that I've been, and I did it in pieces. I learned quickly. I couldn't do all this at one time, so it was working on one platform and then switching to another, or one book at a time. And I had all my books were in KDP Select on Kindle, and you can't go wide with your ebook if you're in Kindle Unlimited
Right.
with KDP Select. So I had to let those periods time out before I could go to upload. So that helped me stagger it a little bit too. But
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah, and that is something that the one time I was looking into it, I discovered that, okay, and you've got to kind of plan that ahead. You can't decide, just on a whim. Oh yeah, let me turn that off.
Right.
It's a 3 month period or
3 months.
something.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So you have to go in and turn off the auto renew, because if you don't, it'll just redo at the end of the 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that'll set back your plans another 3 months.
Right.
Oh my gosh. So how recent is this is your imprint, and how's that going for you so far?
I mean, all of this kind of went official probably 3 months ago when I really started doing it. And I did things that I don't know I necessarily needed to do, but just to keep it official, to make it as official as I could. I even registered the press with the Ohio uh, the Secretary of State for Ohio. So
Mm.
Orange Octave Press is a registered business in Ohio, and um, I mean, so far it's cool. I mean, I think the books look good. Like I enjoy having a press logo on the book. It just makes it feel a little more. I keep saying official, and I'm not discrediting my old books by any means. It's the same stuff, but it just gives that a little bit of a pop that I'm pleased to see on there.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I mean, and and I think it's sometimes as an author, you can tell a difference, especially after a while. You can tell the difference between some of your some of the covers that were done by the author, something drawn
Mm-hmm.
up, perhaps hand drawn, wherever, versus a cover. Like I'm looking at your down home cover, and it's just like, I mean, that looks like your typical traditionally put out book. I mean, it's fantastic. It really
Thank you.
draws
Yeah,
the eye.
yeah.
You
That
know,
is
and
Matt Wilderson. He does. He's still my cover guy. He's done every single cover I've done. He designed my imprint for logo for the press, and yeah, he's my guy for that.
yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Well, speaking of down home, tell us a little bit about that. That's one of the books that been between
Yep.
since last time you were here.
Yeah. So Down Home was the next book after Chamberlain. It's a supernatural story. It was actually dedicated to my mom. She grew up in southeast Kentucky, down in the mountains, and I've always lived in Ohio, but we'd go to reunions and stuff down there. We got a lot of family in that area, and so it's an Appalachian mountain supernatural horror story about a young woman who left her life there when she turned 18, and just a lot of family tragedy, and she wanted to get away. And then 10 years later, her aunt passes away, and she goes back for the funeral and sort of rekindles friendships with a cousin and an uncle, and then in that process realizes that there were some darker secrets, and more than just the tragedy she knew about were related to their family in the mountains. And she gets into some supernatural issues. Not the greatest elevator pitch, but it's been a while since I pitched that one. So, but yeah.
That's all right. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds pretty amazing to me. I love that kind of stuff. I've been toying with trying to decide if I have a short story idea or if it's a full length novel idea of the Ozarks here in Missouri. After
Yeah.
my wife and I took a trip to southern Missouri a couple of years ago, and we hit a couple of roads that was just like, holy crap. Like, man, this is like, I would hate to be on this road in the middle of the night and the
Right.
fog rolls in, and it's just you can't see a thing, and the trees hang over the road, so it's just like, whoa.
You're
Talk
selling
about
me.
inspiration. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Down Home, that sounds like it's right up that same alley. And I love that supernatural kind of stuff, that just the home legends, urban legends. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, it was the Down Home. The title actually came from, because that's how my mom referred to where she was from. She called it Down Home, and when I was trying to come up with a name for it, I mentioned that in passing, I think, to Matt when we were talking about the cover, and he said, I think that's your title," and sure enough, it did. So
That's fantastic. Has your mom read it?
she did read it, and she enjoyed it. I put a lot of Easter eggs in there. There was a lot of nods to actual names and places and some events that really have a lot of inside things that she or my brothers and sisters would know about. So yeah, she enjoyed it. Yeah, and that book came out in November 2 years ago, so that would have been 2022. And then my mom actually passed away earlier this year, so fortunately I was able to get that one out, and it's got a dedication to her in the front. So I'm glad she got to read that one and experience that one.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, and speaking from experience, that's always fun when you can throw in some of those little Easter
Mm-hmm.
eggs for, there's just a few people that are going to get it, but it's
Right.
like, yeah, when they text you or write you later on and say like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you put that in there." It's just like,
Yep.
yeah, that's right.
I actually had with that book with my editor, there were a couple times that he made a note for me to suggesting I take something out or whatever, but it was part of one of those Easter egg things, and I was like, I've not taken it out. I know you don't understand why it needs to be here, but it does.
Yeah, I got a recurring character that I never intended that to happen, but like in my second book, a character popped up again. It's just like, oh yeah, this will be fun. And then I've got another story where he popped up again. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's like my own little Stephen King world where it's like, yeah, it's all the same world because this guy's there. And he's like, in one episode, or excuse me, in one book, he's a like a small time TV host, and then he's a little more national, and it's kind of keeps growing. It's like, this is fun, just having fun with that character across the books.
I like it. The Maisky verse.
There you go. Oh my gosh. So coming up here in as of this episode, when this comes out, it'll be real soon after your latest book, Sinner, on Halloween. In fact,
Yep.
that's exciting, and man, what a title and cover to go along with it. So tell us about Sinner.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Sinner is a supernatural slasher. It's about a girl in her first semester at college who she grew up in a very fanatically religious household, and she ends up caving into college. Um, what's the word I'm looking for? The things that people tend to do in college, like the partying and inhibitions they can get into, and she finally caves, and she ends up drinking and getting with a guy, and with her upbringing that she's been under, she feels like she has sinned beyond forgiveness, and she ends up taking her own life. And I mean, that's not a spoiler, that's chapter one. So but then she comes back as a think Candyman sort of supernatural slasher deal, where taking vengeance on the people who persuaded her to become a sinner.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a little heavy, and it's definitely my longest book so far. So I mean, it's not a doorstopper or anything, but the first book that I'm comfortable calling a novel and not a novella.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's kind of, for me, it's like a throwback again. And we talked about this back in your first time on the show in 188, your inspiration from things like Tales from the Crypt and, so many of those movies from the 80s. And that feels like that kind of a vibe. coming from
It
something like that.
Yeah, it definitely is. I everything I do is I can't help myself. There is some stamp of Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone or something like that all over all my stuff.
But I think that's what makes it fun. I mean, especially for us, of our age and growing up in that time, and those movies, they were so inspiring for us. And I think
Right.
it's just innate in us to draw back on that and call back on those feelings and try to put that on the page for new audiences today to experience that. And you can put that in your author notes, at the end of the book, like, hey, go back and check out these movies and these shows that we grew up on. You're going to love it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's just such a heavy influence that for me, it's impossible for it not to seep in a little bit to what I'm doing.
Well, I just became aware recently of Ted Danson having a podcast.
Oh, okay. This is news to me too.
Yeah, well, and it's called Where Everyone Knows Your Name. How awesome is
Mm-hmm.
that? Woody Harrelson is a occasional host with him, co-host
All
with him,
right.
and he just interviewed Tom Selleck. So, like, for me, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like my Mount Rushmore of '80s icons. Two guys there, of '80s TV, and listening to them tell their stories and stuff of all that. I'm thinking, man, how many nods, especially to Tom Selleck, have I done in books, throughout the years? It's just like, or even short stories. And I mean, it's just like, I know this is just going to keep going. I'm going to just keep doing it as well. And to hear those stories, and I mean, and now Tom Selleck's got a book coming out about his life, and I'm just like, oh, all right, new goal, new life goal. Let's see if I can get him on the show. But it's
That would
just,
be amazing.
yeah. But I mean, it just, yeah, there's just something about that time period, that the '80s. They were iconic, truly iconic.
Yeah, yeah. And really, I didn't put it together until you bring it up now. But that typical 80s horror movie cast of the group of teenagers or early 20s or group of young people. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
basically is the majority of at least of my three longer works. I mean, they're driven by a young cast of characters like that. So, and I'm sure that's not by accident. That's just the influence that I was under.
Yep. Yeah. My first book, heavily influenced by the '80s slashers, and right down to the last person alive. It's just amazing how that does. So,
Mm-hmm.
so you got something that you're working on next, or are you just kind of focused right now on Sinner and getting it prepared?
That's the main thing right now is getting that all buttoned up and getting it with the wide distribution and the imprint, getting it everything uploaded is a longer process now. It's not just Amazon anymore, but yeah, getting the edits finished up and getting the final cover wrap and everything done. So that'll be over the next month going up to release. But then I've got plenty of things lined up. Matt Will, my cover artist, Matt Willison, he's also a writer. He's written close to 15 books now, and we're actually working on a collaboration as well right now. It's still fairly early, so it's a little ways out, but working on that on the side. And then I've got a lot of ideas that are waiting in the wings to get moving. So I just got to go faster. That's my goal for the foreseeable future is go faster because I slowed down quite a bit. I changed jobs after Down Home. I changed jobs and life changed quite a bit, and my routine got thrown out of whack. And I went really. I mean, when Center comes out, it'll basically be 2 years that all I released in that time was one short story collection, Twisting Parallels, which was my last book. So I prior to that, I had put out two novellas and a collection in a year and a half. So for me, I feel like I just kind of fell off the map, and getting that momentum and getting back to at least two, if not maybe three releases in a year is what I'm shooting for now. So
Yeah. Well, that's a good goal, and that's doable. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
and it sounds like you're working, as long as you're still writing is the main thing. And I mean, that's I have to
Hmm.
remind myself of the same thing because something about these past 2 years, it's just I've been going through a lot of the same stuff and health issues and other stuff going on, and not even in particularly my own health. It's been like family health, so like spending a lot of time out of the house and whatever, but just life
Right.
and
Yep.
taking big gaps from the show, in fact, and then coming back to it. And it's been nice lately being able to have some regular episodes every week and doing this. But it's really it's a good feeling when I can sit down and get back into my book and really put some words down. I'm like, wow, man, that was only 500 words, but man, it felt good to do that
Yep.
again. And and then you spend the rest of the day, you just can't wait to get back to it again.
Yep. It's all consistency, and fortunately, over the last month or so, I've gotten really back into the swing to where I'm taking my lunch break at work and cranking out 1,000 or 1,500 words. And it's so much easier if you can be
Mm.
consistent and do it every day. You can pick right back up, or at least for me, to where when I'll write one day and then I'll wait 2 or 3 weeks before I write again, you're shaking the rust off all over again. And it's all, I mean, it's everything in life is consistency and effort. And if things get easier.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'll even confess something because by the time this episode comes out, it'll already be done anyway. So, haha. But yeah, my boss, their whole family, everybody is leaving for vacation like here in a couple of days of when we record this. So yeah, for the next like 2 weeks, I'm looking forward to all of my downtime at work. I'm gonna knock things out in the morning. Rest of my
Yep.
time, I'm pulling out my little portable keyboard, and I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna knock out book 3 of my series as much as I can. I'm same thing. My lunch break, usually everybody else leaves, so my lunch break I have with me, and I just eat while I'm writing and try and get some of that done. But I'm looking forward to these next week and a half, 2 weeks of getting a lot of downtime at work, I think. And yeah, if they listen to this, it'll be already done by then. So
Too late to do anything about it.
too late now.
I love it. I do the same thing, and yeah, I have Bandit book 1 and 2 on my Kindle, and
uh,
I read your book, A Novel Idea, which I think I messaged you and told you I enjoyed. That it reminded me of The Simple Plan by Scott Smith quite a bit. I really like that
yeah.
book.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Good
Well,
stuff.
hey, we're gonna wrap things up here. I got a little bit of a would you rather question, something
Ooh,
that's been new
okay.
this last year I've been doing. All right, so would you rather lose the ability to read new books or lose the ability to reread your favorite books?
Ooh. I may be in the minority here, but I would rather lose the ability to read new books because I am a admitted creature of habit and I reread books all the time and I rewatch movies all the time. So
Yeah.
I would have to hold on to the ones I love.
There was probably a time I would agree with you. I reread a lot of the same books over and over again. And I guess I have the show to thank for this. I have been reading extremely wide the
Mm.
last several years. So it'd be tough though. I mean, to think I couldn't go back to some of my favorite books again. Oh man, that would be heartbreaking. But
Yeah.
there's always a lot of good books to find out there, and you never know. But yeah, I totally get it too, though.
Yeah. It would not be without regret because I've read some great new stuff, but man, those
Yeah,
classics, I don't think I could give it up.
absolutely. Oh gosh, I feel you, man. Well, hey, once again, where can people find and follow you?
Uh, well, we didn't mention it, but I do have a website now, steveclarkbooks.com. So everything is on the website, all the links to the socials. I have a store live now, so you can buy signed paperbacks directly through my website. And so, yeah, steveclarkbooks.com. That'll get you anything you want to know.
All right, fantastic. Of course, and everybody, we're going to have links for not only his website and his books, but also links to his past episodes. So you can go back and check out his our past conversations. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe so that next week you don't miss out when Steve is back reading a sample from his upcoming book. Sinner. That's available October 31st, but you can pre-order it right now. Steve, thanks again for coming on the show. I really enjoyed our chat, and man, I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you, man. I always love coming on. I'm happy to be a third timer, and we'll see if I can't track down Armand eventually.
Fantastic. All right. Well, until next time, everybody, take care.